Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Intelligence Racing League for what could well be a championship deciding race here in Division 1. It's the penultimate round of the season around the Yas Marina circuit. Round number 18, Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Last time out in Russia, it was CPI Connor who took his second victory of the season. But the big story, with Just As missing the last race, a second place for Daniel means he is now 32 points ahead in the championship. A win tonight, and there is absolutely nothing Just As can do about it. Unsurprisingly, it is dry conditions. Pretty much this and Bahrain, the only circuits on the game where you can guarantee it is going to be absolutely beautifully dry conditions. So let's see who is going to take pole position. As we said, Daniel, a victory. There's nothing Just As will be able to do about it. On the flip side, if Just As takes a win, even a second place and a fastest lap wouldn't mathematically secure the championship for Daniel. It would go to the next round. So that is a big battle to watch out for. Also need to watch out for the Constructors' Championship battle as well. Currently Racing Point, despite scoring no points last time around, are 57 points ahead of Alfa Romeo. So they look pretty good to take the lead or take that championship tonight. And let's not forget, whoever wins the Drivers' Championship in Division 1, there's a £25 PSN voucher going to the winner. So it is definitely going to be well fought amongst these drivers who all seem to be heading out. Well, the two McLaren seem to be heading out together pretty early on, McCrew and Menno de Bever. And to be fair, they had a pretty decent performance last time out, third and fourth position respectively. McCrew getting his best result of the season, and that fourth place for Menno de Bever means he closes up to the back of Mr. Pop XL. It is still extremely close for the battle for third in the championship. We've told you about the two leaders, Daniel 187, Just As 155. We've then got Connor, who you could arguably say is definitely the fastest out of those fighting for third. He's on 107, Mr. Pop 105, Menno on 98. So they've got their own little battle to go down. And further down in the Constructors' Championship, there's a few close battles as well. Only 18 points between Alfa Romeo and Williams at the moment. So some good performances from Connor. Could well settle that in favour of the Grove-based team. Soft, mediums and hards as always, and Pirelli bring their three softest tyres to this race. Not really a lot of long high-speed corners. You do have that high-speed first sector, but apart from that, doesn't really take a lot out of the tyres. And it is going to be Mr. Pop XL, first man to set a time then in this session, as he now heads down the start-finish straight towards turn one. A very tricky first corner, easy to run wide here and get yourself a warning, and then you're flat out through two, up towards 3 and 4 as well. Full commitment, run as wide as you dare to try and shorten the corner, and then late braking for the chicane at turn 5, bringing to an end the first sector. To go flying through 6 for hairpin at turn 7 again. Try and run as wide as possible to open up that entry as much as possible. Then DRS opening just before you get to the Pirelli Bridge, as you head now towards turn 8, where you'll see a lot of slipstreaming and hopefully a lot of overtaking during this race into the two chicanes. This one here then, 8 and 9, very late on the brakes, very deceptive braking zone, easy to run deep there, hopping over the curb at turn 9, and then you're flat out through this long turn 10 past the Marina Grandstand. Again, expect a lot of slipstreaming as you now head towards the next chicane at turn 11, as you bring an end to the second sector of the lap. And here we go, 11, 12 and 13, a very fiddly section here, heavy on the brakes once again through turn 14. Again, easy to run wide. 3 right-handers in a row here, 15 and 16. You need to brake just at the end of turn 16 if you want to make the apex of 17 quickly over to the other side of the track. As you go with the two left-handers of 18 and 19, brush past that wall on the right-hand side. You can see Mr. Pop just giving it a little kiss. Turn 20, not as fast as you think at first sight. Turn 21 as well. Head over towards the right-hand side of the track if you're starting another lap on a 133.549, quickly beaten by Daniel. McCrew has invalidated his lap, and Menno de Bever goes up into second. So a fantastic first run from Menno and Daniel, especially Daniel, fastest so far, and Just As has invalidated. And you've got to say, there's been anything that has cost the Lithuanian over the last few races, it has been his qualifying performances. He hasn't quite reached the same heights, those amazing heights, let's not forget. First 3 races of the season since the restart in Canada, he took the victory. He got a third place in Singapore as well. Only 2 podiums since then, so 4 podiums in the first 4 races, 2 in the 8 that have followed. He has missed one of them, of course, and he's going to have to put in some seriously good performances tonight if he wants to take that championship to Brazil, because with the way Daniel's been qualifying, you've got to say he's a bit of a favourite. JF Rocher just getting out of the way there. I believe he is currently in second place, so a very good lap from the Mercedes driver at the moment. Currently in second place. Highest finish so far this season of 6. Hasn't took part in too many races, so he'll be hoping to take advantage of a bit of a reduced grid tonight to set some severely quick times. On board with Connor there, very close to invalidating as you go on that run through 10 and, well, through turn 9, I should say. Then on your way now, coming through turn 10, this long, almost like a straight, heavy braking again. You can't run into the exit of the sport pit lane. You will invalidate your time with strict corner cutting on. So that's something all the drivers are going to have to be careful of. Connor leaving a bit of safety there, I must say, by the looks of things, heading through that turn. All nice and smooth now, though, as he comes through 15, 16, 17, 18. Turn 19, avoiding the wall. We did see a little tap from Mr. Pop earlier. Not ideal, but you can get away with it as long as it's not too big of a tap and you cause yourself damage. Don't be surprised if we do see a few front wings going missing there during the race. And Connor goes fastest then. 132.534, and that looked a fairly comfortable lap time from him. A fantastic lap from the Brit. He's looking pretty good at this moment, looking as though he wants to become only the second man this season to win consecutive races. He's only the third driver this season to have won multiple races. The 2 championship protagonists have managed to win 3 each. Connor has won 2, last time out in Russia and the Japanese Grand Prix a few times ago. But Just As is the only man to take consecutive wins. So can Connor do that and perhaps show that if he'd been here since the start of the season, because he missed the first 4 races, that's 100 possible points he missed out on. It'd have been very unlikely he'd have got all 100, but he could have been right in this championship battle, and who knows, maybe making it a realistic 3-way battle. Harry has invalidated his time. Just As went out for a second lap on those soft tyres, and that is a very good second lap indeed. I said Pirelli do bring their softest tyres because tyre wear not really a massive issue around here, and a 132.645 is a very good lap on the second lap, so it shows the life is there if you need it to be. And it looks like McCrew has invalidated again. He's only took part in a few races this season. He's only took part in the last 2, really. He got an 8th place in Spain, a first podium of the season for him in Russia. A great result, of course, for McLaren. That was their best, well, one of their best races of the season. In fact, the first time they've scored above 20 points. 27 points for the Woking team last time out as they look to consolidate their hold on that 4th place in the championship at the moment. So McCrew has invalidated Kazai, who we're seeing for the first time today in the Ferrari. He is 10th place at the moment, the team mentalism driver, going for a lap on the medium tyres. Wonder if that's going to be a tactic we'll see for some other drivers. It is a long track, so you're probably unlikely to set a faster lap on the medium tyres, but he's not doing too bad at this moment in time. We'll have to see how he can cope as the season as the races go on, as this race goes on, and next time out in Brazil, we'll see if he makes a decision to maybe go on to the soft tyres like Chapalele is on at the moment. He's got Daniel just ahead of him. Chapalele, we know he's a quick driver, but things for whatever reason just haven't worked for him so far this season. 6th in the championship, and that despite only scoring points 4 times. Hasn't finished a race since America, had 3 DNFs before missing the last race. Daniel's really not doing him a favour. Well, he's doing him a favour when it comes to the slipstream. He's not doing him a favour whatsoever when it comes to the dirty air through the corner. So I'm not sure whether that's going to be a loss or a gain there for Chapalele. I think, if anything, he has probably maybe gained a 10th or 2 out of that. Very close to running wide. And there we go. You cannot get away with doing that in the support pits because you will invalidate your lap time. And that is another problem that Chapalele's had this season. Invalidated lap times, you qualify further down, quite often get involved in other people's accidents into turn 1, and that is why he's way down at the back at the moment. Perhaps not challenging up where you'd expect him to be. There's some great teamwork from the McLarens there. Let's see what Menno can do. He's 400ths up on his first run. Looks pretty safe from those behind. We've had half of the session so far, and it's Connor, Just As, Daniel, JF Rocher, Menno, Ivan Bakker, Mr. Poffin. Oh, Chapalele is out. Has he got it wrong? Coming through the final corner, he has indeed. Well. Chapalele will be starting from the back of the grid unless we see any disqualifications. We were not expecting that this early on in qualifying, and this looks like a much better lap at the moment from Menno. He's 3/10 up on his personal best. This could challenge for pole position. Could we see another different winner this season in INL? Second place is the best Menno has done so far, and I don't believe he's had a pole position either. Ooh, that was a bit wide. Just a bit wide through the penultimate corner. We'll see if that has cost him anything at all. Comes across the line. Did lose a few hundredths of a second, but still a very good lap indeed. Still good enough for second position. He'll be extremely happy with that, I feel. Mr. Pop has moved himself up into 6th place at the moment. We've got Ivan Bakker coming around the final few corners as well. Another driver that has shown decent pace this season, but only has one podium so far. When he's on it, got to say his pace deserves more than that. Was very unlucky to get involved with that incident with Bullet Boy and McCrew last week, which caused his retirement, and Ivan Bakker does pop his way up into 6th position. What can the championship leader do? In fact, we'll see what JF Washer is doing. He's currently in 5th, heading towards the end of his qualifying lap. Just invalidates and decides to dive into the pits. Doesn't want to be wasting any more time. It's almost as if Kazai is doing some practice on those medium tyres. That's his 5th lap on them. He will not be finding any improvements at the moment. Daniel slightly down on his personal best. He's going to need to nail this final corner if he wants to get onto the footwell of the grid. Runs wide slightly. Does improve personal best and the best of the session so far in that final sector, but it only keeps him in 4th place for now. So the championship protagonist currently on the second row of the grid with 7 minutes remaining, and it's still Connor who is the fastest man at the moment. We'll see if just as he looks to be improving ever so slightly at the moment. Menno is heading back to the pits. We'll see what Connor can do then. Currently on provisional pole position with a 1:32.534 from his first run. No one has been able to get... Well, Menno's got fairly close to it, and Just As has, but that was each on their second laps. Although, to be fair to Just As, that was his second lap on the same set of tyres, so there's definitely more pace in that racing point. Is there any more pace in the Williams as he heads towards the line? Look at that, a 1:32.131, and if this is the form he shows in the race, he is going to be extremely tough to beat. Barakakap just heading towards the pits at the moment. We'll see what Just As can do. He's actually down on his personal best, so he's not going to be improving at all. It wouldn't surprise me if he decides to come into the pits, and indeed it does. So the driver's not doing as well as you'd expect on these second runs. The only one who seemed to have found any sizable margins were Menno and this man Connor. A 1:32.131, currently putting him on pole position just ahead of the McLaren driver. See what Harry can do in the second Mercedes then. Harry, a bit like his teammate, hasn't raced too many times this season. He's been there 4 times, hasn't scored points since his first race in Austria, where he got an 8th position. Retired in the last race and as well at Italy, and was outside the points in Spain, so he'll be hoping for a decent performance to again take advantage of the slightly reduced numbers, which means we might see a few more drivers like Barakakap and Kazai just try and get into that top 10 on the medium tyres. It could work out absolutely brilliantly for them. A bit deep from Harry there into 11, 12 and 13. Will that cost him at all? It looks like a fairly good lap at the moment, you've got to say, from the Mercedes driver. What sort of commitment can he show then? Up through 15 and 16. And again, if you're braking when you're onto the straight points at 16, it's probably just a bit too late to get that car rotated in time to make the apex. Leaving just a bit of margin there between the wall through the exit of 19. See how he does through 20 and 21. Will this put him up around his teammate, or maybe even challenging some of the top guys? There we go, moves just ahead of JF Washer. So we've currently got a more Mercedes. Third row of the grid, Harry in 5th, JF is in 6th place. McCrew coming around to finish what will be his first flying lap, if he can keep it clean. Currently in 13th, needs to be careful, needs to avoid tapping that wall, gets away without any damage whatsoever. I think he might just have a bit of minor damage to his front wing, but nothing that's going to affect him through the final few corners. Can only go into 9th place though, and that well might be it for the Dutchman in this qualifying session. He's going to have a big job to do if that's the case, to beat his best result from last time out, as Menno's already invalidated. Happened early on, so you can save a bit of fuel and save a bit of tyres, but he's already invalidated his lap, and if Mifru hasn't got plenty of fuel in, that might just stop the slipstream tactic for these two. Do seem to have worked well in the last few races. Menno would have been hoping for a slipstream just to consolidate that second place. I don't think to challenge Connor at the top at the moment, because I'm not sure with 3 minutes remaining anyone is really looking like they are going to be able to. Nuffle Beezy on an out lap. He's currently in that 11th place, so he will get a fresh choice of tyres. Another driver who didn't finish in Russia had that huge accident, if I remember rightly, on the first lap of the race with Mr. Pop XL. I think Mr. Pop got some damage in that as well. There was no steward's inquiry into that, so no further penalties required. It was just a bit of bad luck for the two drivers, of course, that they come together, and it did cost Nuffle Beezy, not the quickest driver in this league. He quite happily admits that, but he's happy to turn up every week and put in the best performance he can, and who knows whether tonight he'll be able to pick up some points. And if you can keep it clean on penalties, and if there's any late safety cars, that can always be a big hand and perhaps get you a much better result than you would have expected. He's about to head onto his flying lap now, just heated up the tyres. 2 minutes 10 seconds remaining. I think we'll see a few other cars come out of the pit lane very shortly indeed. You've got McCrew behind, I think just waiting for his teammate to catch up to maybe set another flying lap. And there's that pit lane exit. We haven't really spoke about that. The tunnel that everyone mused about back in 2009 when this circuit made its debut. We haven't seen any incidents there in F1. A few of the drivers in F2 and the lower formula have got it wrong on occasion, so just another factor to make it a bit more awkward for the drivers. You really have to concentrate around this pit exit, and likewise with the one we've got next week at Interlagos as well. Probably two of the trickiest pit exits on the calendar. We'll see what sort of time this is from Nuffle at the moment. He's just heading towards 8, 9 and 10. You will see the majority of the overtaking take place in this second sector. The long two straights really, even though this technically is a corner, but it's a long flat out section. As you come round turn 10, we'll see what sort of time this is for Nuffle Beezy as to whether it's an improvement. And he is 3 temps up at the moment. Might be good enough to get him into the top 10. You've got Bullet Boy, Barakakap and Kazai going out for the first times on the soft tyres in the case of the AlphaTauri and the Ferrari, so they might, you'd expect them to put quite a big improvement in. And for Barakakap, you've got to say, if you can find around a second, that could really move him a long way up the order. 45 seconds remaining. This is probably going to be the last lap then for Nuffle Beezy. He's got Barakakap just ahead of him. Shouldn't prove any distraction. And we'll see where this puts the Renault driver, what is likely to be his final lap. He's run out of ERS towards the line. Does manage to get his way up into 10th though. I think he'll be fairly happy with the way that lap has gone. Renault Bever comes across the line. Slight improvement for him. Does stay in second place though. Mr. Pop now heads towards just as, so he's heading towards the line to start his flying lap. Daniel as well, he's only in third at the moment, and that is it for him. So Daniel moves up to third. He will not be improving anymore. Connor just going on a flying lap now. Harry and JF Rocher starting their flying laps just in time. In the case of Harry, he's timed that absolutely perfectly. So qualifying is over. The checkered flag is out for the qualifying for what could well be the championship decider here between Daniel and Justas. Daniel, if he finishes ahead of Justas, that is good enough for him. He can even afford to finish a bit behind him if they're not fighting for the win, as Ivan Bakker goes up to 4th position, and that will help Daniel. Adds another car buffer at this moment in time. We'll see what Mr. Pop can do. He's invalidated, so 8th place the best for one of the racing points. And Bullet Boy as well, he's also invalidated, so he'll have fresh tyres. Bullet Boy will have fresh tyres, and you'll have to watch out for him. He could be someone to beat. Barakakap doesn't look as though he's pushing too hard at the moment. Currently in 12th place. Is this going to be an improvement? You'd expect it to be on a set of the soft tyres, but I don't think. Ooh, big slide through the final corner, and yeah, does improve up to 11th, but that is it. Whether that was a tactic or not, I'm not quite so sure. Just as he's invalidated as well, so he won't be improving anymore. What can Kazai do in the Ferrari? Currently in 13th place, he invalidates. He won't be starting any higher. Connor Another driver to invalidate. Everyone's struggling on their final runs. Harry won't be improving as well. We'll see if JF Rocher can move himself up the order in that Mercedes. A very good lap time indeed. Gets himself onto the front row with a final lap of the session there from JF. A fantastic time. But it will be Connor on pole position once again here for round 18. Can he take a second victory in a row and a third in the season? But it's going to be hard with this man alongside him on the grid. Those are your top two. Menno de Bebe is third, Daniel in fourth, and if they finish as they start, that will be good enough for the Alfa Romeo driver to secure the championship. Ivan Bakker is fifth, just as in sixth. He's going to have to do some overtaking in the race if he wants that battle to go on to Brazil. Harry, Mr. Pop, McCrew, Nuffle round out the top 10. Baraka will have a fresh choice of tyres, as will Bullet Boy and Kazai, who set their fastest times on the medium, so not quite sure what they'll be able to do. We're not too sure what Chapalele will be able to do. He crashed out in qualifying. We've got 14 drivers then here, and we're going to have 28, hopefully, very interesting laps for this race. What strategies will the drivers go for? Will we see any safety cars? Weather, pretty much as I said earlier, the only thing we can guarantee we're not going to see in this race, and make sure to stay tuned. It should be a cracker. Drivers just readying up then, just deciding what strategies they're going to be, making the slight setup tweaks that are allowed by the game. You are allowed to make changes to your front wing, to your tyre pressures, to the differential, just to maybe adjust the handling, make it a bit more comfortable in the race. Might necessarily not be as fast as you'd want to be, but you'd rather be a bit comfortable and not spinning and invalidating. We did see a lot of invalidations towards the end of that qualifying session, so the drivers will be hoping that everything goes nice and smooth in this race. Penalties could play a big factor. Like I said, any late safety cars, there is going to be big trouble for a few of these drivers. So everyone is just getting those strategies ready, readying up their setups, and we'll see what tyres those outside the top 10 will be starting for, because we know what those will be on the top 10 as we've got the T-pose in the background. Not quite sure who that is, and hopefully it will... oh my word. What is happening to Ivan Bakker? Right, there we go. The onboard camera seemed to fix it. That was interesting indeed. Anyway, tyres that everyone is on hards for everyone outside the top 10, apart from MNT Kazai. The debutant going for something different. The sole Ferrari here today. He isn't a reserve for Ferrari, he's actually now a full-time driver for the Scuderia, replacing Yakul, who can no longer make the races. And there we go, Kazai in the Ferrari in 13th place. There's the suggested strategies by the game. You can make two-stop work around here. Those on the hard zone you'd be expecting to go towards the end, and I think we'll see most of the drivers trying to do the one-stop. Soft to hard, hard to soft. Maybe for Kazai, he might be thinking about a two-stop, medium, soft, soft. Just have to see how it goes. Normally when you go for that though, your medium tyres aren't exactly worn out. He's going for the Kimi Raikkonen Abu Dhabi tyre warming approach here. Those on the hard tyres understandably doing everything to try and get some temperature in, because I'm not really too bothered at the moment. There is our policy to them. Connor, there is the man we need to watch. If Daniel takes the win, doesn't matter where Justas finishes, but likewise if Justas takes the win, won't matter where Daniel finishes, and we will have a championship battle going on to Brazil. Also with results as they stand at the moment, with a 4th place for the sole Alfa Romeo driver for Daniel. That means that any points for Racing Point would be good enough, unless Daniel can get on the podium. Then we might need Justas and Mr. Pop to finish a bit higher up the order if Racing Point want to secure the championship, but still a long way to go. Still a lot of action. Who do you guys think is going to take the victory? Are we going to see another podium maybe from McCrew? Got a 3rd last time around, starting down in 9th place. It's going to be difficult for him. What can Bullet Boy and Chapalele do? Two drivers who we know are extremely quick indeed. Starting on the hard tyres, a long way down the order. Bullet Boy probably feels he should have had a bit more luck this season than he's had. He's only scored 4 points. Chapalele likewise, that win in Singapore, his only podium of the season. He's had the odd incident which has really cost him. Those two got disqualified from the session Well, those two, I mean, Babakakap and Bullet Boy getting disqualified from the session right at the end, but that won't affect them too much. Shapalele comes into position then. What can he do from the back of the grid? Make sure you're watching. You don't want to miss this. Strap in. Get ready. This is going to be an absolutely scintillating 28 laps here as we wait now for all the lights to come on at the Yas Marina circuit. Will it be a championship decider? Lights out, and we are underway then here, and it is a decent start from JF Rosher. He's had a fantastic second phase to the start alongside into turn one. Oh, there's a bit of contact there between Connor and Menno de Beva. It's another nightmare start from Connor, who drops down to 4th, 5th place. Oh, a bit more contact. He's going to drop all the way towards the back of the field, a lot behind his teammate. What a shocking start then from the pole sitter. It's JF Rosher in the lead, Daniel in second, Menno battling with Justas here, and Ivan Bakker trying to go all the way around the outside. Mr. Pop now thinking about sticking his nose in. He's got ahead of the Red Bull driver. Great start from Daniel. But again, Connor, that's another nightmare start, similar to what he did last week when he got away with it. Will he get away with it this time though? Ivan Bakker trying to go all the way around the outside of Mr. Pop here. Through turn 8 and 9. He's got the grip, he's got the inside line. Has he got the position? He's trying to shove that Racing Point driver a bit wide, and Harry thinks I'll have some of that. I'll go all the way down the outside of turn 10 and get ahead of you. So that is now Harry up into 6th place. Those are the position gains as they stand then at the moment. Connor, obviously the biggest loser. Knuckle Beasley, the biggest winner, as he throws it down the inside of Mr. Pop. He's enjoying fighting higher up the field than he's used to. He is in 7th. Daniel and Justas moving up 2 places as well, and our race leader moving up 1 position. And look already at the gap that they've got over Menno de Beva at this moment in time. It is more than a second. And if it stays like that, of course, Menno will not get DRS when it is activated at the end of lap 2. There are 2 DRS zones around this circuit then, on the run down to turn 8 and on the run down to turn 11. As Harry now, got someone dropping down the order. I think that is just a timing glitch. I should probably be used to that by now. Shapalele in the pits. He got damage on lap 1. This is another bad start to a race for Shapalele, and the front wing's coming out and he retires from the session. Well, there we go. There's the answer to that. So Shapalele is out of this race. We're down to the 13 runners, and there's still this battle at the lead. They don't have DRS yet. We know what their hub says. As Connor now fights his way past Kazai, he's back up into the points. If he takes a victory here, this is going to be probably one of the best performances we've seen of the season. But again, lap 1 troubles really costing him, and Kazai trying to stay with Connor. That might be all he needs to do because he's on the medium tyres. His tyres will last a lot better. Babakakap and Bullet Boy, and you've got to say Shapalele, the hard's not working out for them. But no surprise, the softs runners are the top 10, the mediums are in 11th, and the hards are in 12th and 13th for now. Oh, Harry sent one up the inside of Ivan Bakker there. We just caught the end of that move. It didn't work, but fair play for trying, because I now picks up the first time penalty of the race, and we're only on lap 2. That might not bode well for the end of this race if Kazai does pick up a few more. That is not what you want to be seeing in this early stage of the race, because in this race he might be at risk of disqualification, but I'm sure he will tidy things up. Yet another suggested pit strategy there from AWS, as reliable as always. Daniel then fastest lap of the race, all over the back of JF Rosher at this moment in time. Mr. Pop in 8th position. Got to say, Menno in that battle for 3rd place, all of a sudden looking really good. I think it was him who had a slight tap with the back of Connor. And then as Connor came back onto track, I'm not sure if he nearly collected Mr. Pop XL, but that really cost Connor. He's now down in 10th place, right behind. Oh, Menno's round! Menno's gone off in the McLaren, needs to be careful rejoining to track. Thankfully, he is ghosted, but he is going to drop a long way down the order into 11th. Not good for him whatsoever, and it looks like his teammate's going to drop down a position as well. That's going to promote Connor up into 8. Straightforward DRS pass then. Connor is into 8. And what that does mean is that just as he might now be a bit vulnerable, as further back Bullet Boy gets ahead of Babakakap up into 12th place then. And he might have a good chance of getting the money here on Menno. Just doesn't have the tyre grip at this moment in the race. A few more laps before those softs really start to wear. But with the DRS, with the ERS, he's got a fantastic chance here of getting the move done. Down the inside, well, he tried all the way around the outside. Menno tried to defend it, goes deep, and there's contact. Contact between Menno and Bully Boy, and I can't imagine the Williams is too happy about that. Menno went a bit deep, there was a bit of contact. There we go, Connor's up into 7th place. He's flying his way through the order. Not at the moment, he might still get a win, as Mr. Pop and McGrew have now picked up some penalties. So they're now on 3 seconds apiece for leaders zone, as they were with Noffel Beasy. He's now up into 6th place. He's probably loving this race at the moment. I don't think he'll be in 6th too long with Connor behind him. Ivan Backer, fastest lap of the race, 1:37.466. Oh, Mr. Pop down the inside then of the Williams. So Connor now back down into 8th place, right tight onto the back of the racing point. And this battling means you can see Knuckles got away from them, and Harry's got away from them as well. So Connor down the inside then. Mr. Pop's trying to hold it off, and Bullet Boy retires in the pits. We are down to just 12 runners there. Menno de Bever coming back out on the mediums. That is a certain strategy for 2 stops. Connor not with the greatest run through that hairpin there. He's going to have the DRS. He's not going to be close enough into this next chicane, I don't think. I say that. He must have some severe straight line speed. No, decides to just stay behind Mr. Pop in the end. We imagine that racing point's going to be vulnerable as McGrew and Kazai are battling all of a sudden. So let's see this one. Coming out of turn 10 for Connor. It is much better than Mr. Pop. It goes to the outside. And there we go. That is going to be that position done by maybe the least helpful camera angle I've seen in a while. Mr. Pop then is now down into 8th position and picks up another penalty. He's racking them up. At the moment, we've got a battle for 3rd place, just as Ivan and Harry. 3rd, 4th, 5th position at the moment. The 2 leaders come flying through, and there we go. There's the battle that we were watching then. Just as has these 2 behind him, and you'd expect if you're stuck behind someone, that's when the undercut is the most effective. But Just as needs to find some pace, needs to get onto the back of Daniel, get ahead of Daniel, then try and get JF Rashel as well as McGrew comes into the pits. That is a very early stop off those soft tyres. Did he have any damage, or is this just strategic from the McLaren driver? Just looks strategic for now. Medium tyres, another set 2-stop strategy. So both McLarens going for that 2-stop. We might be seeing a few more do it. As Kazai is out of the race. That is a huge shunt coming out of turn 4, and that is a full safety car. Probably at the worst possible time for McGrew, because he'd just been into the pits. So unfortunately for him, he's not gained anything for that. A full safety car. Will we see any of these leaders take advantage and come into the pit lane? Another race of attrition here then. In Russia, we've had about 6 or 7 retirements. We've had another 3 here so far. And we're only on to lap 5 of the race. It's JF Russia leading, Daniel in 2nd, just as is 3rd. We'll get the penalty situation up. It is very early in the race, but you can see there Nuffle and McGrew with 3 seconds, Mr. Pop with 6. What this safety car means is any fuel concerns that the drivers might have had go out the window. It does allow you to save a bit of fuel and perhaps run rich for more often, which could help you if you're defending from the car behind, but of course they'll be able to go in rich more often as well. Now, are we going to see any pit stops then here from the lead cars? Are any of these drivers coming into the pits? And I think the answer is going to be most of them coming in here. This is a big help for Connor, of course, with that spin incident, whatever. Basically another one that's been caused by a very bad start from Connor as he tried to go a bit deep there, try and get ahead of Knuckle Beasy. But another bad start from Connor is really costing him. You can see here he's quite a long way behind some of the others. Shouldn't lose any time in the pits, I'd have thought. And yeah, you can see actually one person who has lost in the pits because of the double stack is Harry and McGrew. And Mr. Pop as well, actually. Mr. Pop losing a bit of time, so he's still in 9th. McGrew might work his way up the order here because he can just go as fast as possible. So he's got ahead of Mr. Pop. That early pit stop, again, just costing him ever so slightly. Might have been better served pitting under the safety car, but he is in 9th. Mr. Pop is 10th. Menno de Bever is in 11th. And those are our final runners. Everyone who's coming to the pits is put on the medium tyres. One driver who hasn't come into the pits is Barack Cap, so he's going for a bit of glory then. A glory run from the AlphaTauri driver. He is leading this race on lap 6. At this moment in time, the man currently 8th in the championship. His best result of the season was last time out with a 5th place in Russia. He's pretty much got most of the points for AlphaTauri this season. In fact, I think he might even have all of the points. No, sorry, he doesn't have all of them. He's had 44 points. AlphaTauri currently on 54 points. So he's had a very good job this season. A very consistent midfield job. Always seems to get to the end of the race. I think he's only had one retirement. He's had no retirements this season. He got disqualified from Silverstone for a violation of the safety car rules. A bit of a glitch with the game, just allowing Barakagap to overtake everyone and basically get a free pit stop when he really should have had to stay behind the safety car and drop to the back of the field. He got disqualified from that, but since then, his only non-scoring points finish has been the Spanish Grand Prix. Has been extremely consistent indeed, and looks good. Got to say, looks good for getting some points today with already 11 cars only left remaining in this race. 3 retirements, Chapelele retiring in the pits, as did Bullet Boy, and Kazai having that big accident on the exit of turns 4, bringing out the safety car, which will be staying out then for another lap. We'll see how these drivers do on the medium tyres. They will have to pit again, but I think now it's pretty certain that we'll be seeing everyone pit towards the end of the race and going for the soft tyres, and that is assuming we don't get any more safety cars. Barakagap staying out has given him the race lead. It's going to give him one hell of a dilemma once the safety car comes into the pits. Older tyres are a lot harder to warm up. Harder compound tyres are a lot harder to warm up. He could easily drop down the field, and that could have a big say, even at this early stage, in the way this race goes. If someone drops a long way down the order in these early stages, it could be very, very difficult indeed for others to gain their way up the field. So we'll have to see. We'll just have to see how this goes then for Barakagap. If someone gets stuck behind him at the one point of the track, you could easily see losing 1.5 seconds. But we'll wait and see what happens. Who's going to end up taking the victory then? This is going to be fascinating. Daniel actually completely missed that. Under all what's happened with the safety car, Daniel jumped JF Rocher in the pit. So great news from the Alfa Romeo driver and the championship leader. He's really in the pound seats to secure that championship and the £25 prize here today. JF Rocher is third, just as is in fourth. Net third position, but he needs to beat Daniel by at least 7 points today to keep the championship alive. Well, 6 points will mathematically still keep the championship alive. So, needs to beat Daniel by 6 points, and there we go. Safety car is coming in this lap. So we could see a few more battles on lap 1. So Barakagap now becomes the effective safety car, as he doesn't want to put it in neutral. He is really slowing down very early on here. Does this suggest to me he's going to try and go early to get some heat up into those tyres? Because he is slowed down to such a slow pace at this moment in time. The safety car's a long way ahead of him at the moment. In fact, he's going to be in the pits at this rate. He's still going to have a couple of corners left. He's just taking it very easy. Hopefully we won't see any contacts further behind. There is Menno, who could have been battling for the win of this race. If it wasn't for that spin, Connor can still, you think, battle for the win in this race with the pace he's got. Let's not forget, he was on pole position. I think Barakagap has gone a bit too fast towards the end, because the safety car's only just coming into the pits now. He's timed that pretty much perfect. Off we go then, racing again, 21 laps remaining. Barakagap in the lead, Daniel, Rocher, just as Iago Bakker, Nuffle, Harry, Connor, the crew, Mr. Pop, Menno. Cars that are left, and already you can see Daniel all over the back of the AlphaTauri. Is he going to have to go the long way round into the chicane to get the move done? Thinks about it, no gap there though. That covered off by JF. They're both bunching up, a few light taps, under braking, thankfully. No damage done, no DRS for another 2 laps of course, and I don't think Daniel wants to wait that long. He wants to secure this championship river race victory. He's right in the slipstream of Barakagap, who's just using his ERX just to stay ahead here. We're nearly close to going 3 wide here. Daniel tries it all the way around the outside on the brakes. That is an absolutely fantastic manoeuvre from the Alfa Romeo. Gets that position done, and that could be crucial. You can see JF Rocher able to follow through at turn 10 as well. So he's now back up into second place. How quickly can some of these others make their way up the order there? Just after be the next man trying to get past Babacar. He's pretty much single file through this final sector, and there's not a lot he'll be able to do despite the hard tyres on the Alpha Tauri. He's got a much better exit there though, round the outside. The 15 and 16 is not something you see too often. Late on the brakes for 17. He gets it done, and you see Ivan Bakker nearly running into the back as well. Muffle getting squeezed slightly. That's going to allow Harry to think about putting one up the inside. Oh, Babacar Cap's round. Babacar Cap is round, and I think that's Nuffle Beasy who was unable to avoid him. Yeah, big front wing damage on the Renault driver. Such a shame. It's been a pretty decent race from him. He's into the pits. Babacar Cap is round. Sticking out on those hard tyres has not worked out whatsoever. 20 laps remaining. Daniel then in the lead after our first full green flag lap after the safety car. JF Rocher is second, just as is third, because he was able to get ahead a bit earlier, and there was that spin from Babacar. Look at the gap he has pulled, 1.8 seconds ahead of Ivan Bakker, who's now got Harry and Connor all over the back of him, and he's got front wing damage. So Ivan will be coming into the pit soon as well, you feel. Harry up into fourth place, and I don't think it'll be long before Connor's gaining fifth. Then we're back, there we go. He's now up into fifth. You still can't write this man out for taking a victory in this race, despite dropping to last on the first lap. He's already back up to fifth place. If he keeps it clean with penalties, he could be looking very good in the latter stages of this race. The crew then now on the back of the Red Bull driver, who I think knows he's going to have to come into the pits this lap. That is McCrew up into sixth, and you think Mr. Pop and Menno will be following through shortly then. There's the top three, 1.2 seconds between them. Let's not forget, Justas was a bit off the front drivers before that safety car. Now he's caught up. We'll see if he's got the pace to do anything about them, because he wants to take his fourth win of the season. He wants to prove that he's still got a chance of taking this championship, and that maybe, just maybe, if he had missed the last race, he would be the favourite. As we see there, Mr. Pop has got ahead of Ivan, who I think will have to come into the pits this time around. No, he's staying out on track, and there we go. Jay Justas, fastest lap of the race, quickly taken then by Harry, who is fastest man of the race in the free air. DRS enabled this lap. He could soon be under some big pressure, though, from Connor to hold on to that fourth position, which would be by far the best result of Harry's season so far. Only scored 4 points, and that was in 8th place on his debut this season in Austria. But that Williams driver, 2 wins so far this season, looking to make it 2 in a row. Let's not count him out yet. Not the best run through the hairpin. He'll still have a go, though, I feel, into the next chicane at 11, 12 and 13. Mr. Pop with the straight line speed on McCrew with the DRS open, and now with 6th place. We'll have to see whether McCrew can maybe fight back along the next DRS straight at all. Hasn't got the cleanest of exits and isn't able to do anything up for the lead of this race. Still Daniel with JF Rocher still behind him, and Justas not too far behind either. This is going pretty well at the moment. This is going pretty well for Daniel, exactly as he would have liked. Well, I think exactly as he would have liked is maybe a bit more free air, if we're being honest, but just doing everything at the moment. He's kept it clean, and he's got a car in between himself and Justas, because if these two become 1-2, then we could see some fireworks, because Justas knows he'd have to just go for the move to take the lead of the race to have any chance of keeping that championship battle alive. Ivan has dropped behind Meadow then, so he is now in 9th place. That's another penalty for Mr. Pop. 9 seconds already. He's actually at risk of getting himself disqualified from this race. He sets the fastest lap of the race, which I'm surprised counts, given the fact that it definitely wasn't a clean lap. But yeah, 6th place at the moment. There's a late safety car. He's going to be lucky to get any points indeed. Connor a bit closer to Harry this time. Now he lost time through the hairpin the previous lap. If he keeps it clean through the hairpin this time, again, it looks as though Harry's got away slightly, but perhaps not by as much. So this could be the chance that the Williams needs. And you can already see Harry is drifting over towards that inside line. Leaves the door open slightly. Connor realises he's too far behind to do it into this chicane. If he gets a good enough exit though out of 8, 9 and through 10. He might be able to do it into the next one, but again, Harry, not with a bad exit, as you see JF just close it up slightly. Connor just seems to be stuck behind him at the moment. Harry keeping it clean, not making any mistakes. Definitely making it tough for Connor, because you do feel that qualifying showed if Connor gets away from Harry, you feel like he's got the pace to at least catch up to those top 3. Catching up is one thing, overtaking is another, as the great, somehow not Sir Murray Walker said many, many moons ago. You can see Connor just taking tighter lines at the moment, looking for a space to perhaps get past that Mercedes down the inside into the final corner. Would be a very brave move. Tried to get a better exit through that final corner. Didn't quite work out as he would have intended, so he stays in 5th place for now. As we come on to lap 12, that is the view back then from the race leader and the champion-elect as things stand. Daniel 6 tenths ahead of JF Rocher. He himself 6 tenths ahead of Justas. 2.5 back to Harry, who's got Connor right up his exhaust pipe at this moment in time. See Daniel, the concertina effect, that is the awkward thing around Abu Dhabi. That final corner before the straight doesn't really promote close following, although this is by far the closest we've seen the Mercedes get for a while, and he's going to be close enough to send one down the inside into turn 8, and that is the Mercedes in the lead. Oh, he's round! Don't know if there was any contact, but he is round, and that might give Justas a chance to get a run on Daniel as well. They've both got DRS down the straight here. Who's it going to be? Daniel or Justas? JF Rocher around. I think McCrew's gone round trying to avoid the Mercedes as well, which is such a shame for him. I'm not sure whether that was a completely separate accident or it was linked. He's down to 9th. JF Rocher is down to 6th. Connor got ahead of Harry, so he's now onto a podium slot all of a sudden. But we do have the top 2 in the championship, nose to tail. If it finishes like this, it's still a long way to go, but if it finishes like this, Daniel takes the championship. If it swaps around, Justas takes the championship. This could be good. This could be very good indeed. There we go. Justas now 13 laps. Well, lap 13 out of 28. 16 remaining. Connor showing some fantastic pace. You can see how much he's pulling away from Harry. All of a sudden, how's this guy not won every race this season with the pace he's been showing? He's absolutely lightning class of the field. Pace-wise at the moment, it's just a few penalties and different things have cost him. But you can already see he's a couple of lap time. He's going to be within a second of Justas and Daniel. And he might be able to start putting these drivers under pressure. Although, with the third man in the DRS train, it is always hard to overtake. Justas is closing ever so slightly. Is he going to be close enough to send one down the inside? The championship rivals are battling each other. Justas a bit deep there, gets the move done. Daniel's going to have the DRS though. Down the next straight here. Can Justas hold on to that position? He's going to hook the inside line here, like his life depends on it. Daniel's going to have to go a long way round on the brakes. Is he able to get the move done all the way round the outside? At turn 11, just retakes the lead of this race. And that allows Connor to close up. And Harry, fair play to Harry, he's coming with him, so he could soon all of a sudden have a four-way battle for the lead of this race, and I don't think Daniel and Justas will be wanting the Williams and the Mercedes to get involved. Oh, and JF Rocher, he's a long way off and he's out of the race. JF Rocher is out of the race. That is at turn 14, and that is a virtual safety car. He is a long way off at turn 14. How is he? He must have had contact with someone else, Daniel, into the pits, as is Justas. That is interesting. That is very interesting indeed. Very early pit stop. That must be as Harry and Menno come in as well. It's another set of medium tyres that will take them towards the end of the race. Connor deciding to not come in. Neither did Mr. Pop as well. So Daniel stays in, you've got to say, the net lead at this moment in time. And it's that gap now between Daniel and Connor. We're going to want to watch and see how much it comes down. Justas stays ahead of Baraka, who still hasn't pitted, by the way. He's now up to 5th place on those hard tyres. Still hasn't pitted. Harry in 6th. Menno is 7th. Drew in 8th. It's been a bit of an unlucky races for the McLaren drivers so far. Ivan in 9th for nothing but easy. Another driver who just got caught up in someone else's incident as just as. That could be it. That could be the championship decided. Drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, and has the Racing Point driver just thrown away any chance of beating Daniel in this race and ensuring that the championship goes on to the final round. An absolute disaster for the Racing Point driver, and that could be it. That drive-through penalty is going to drop him behind Menno into some free air at least. He's got to rely on a slip-up now from Daniel, you feel, who just has to relax. He's in a good position to take the race victory, being only 14 seconds behind Connor, who will be coming into the pits, I think, for the softs at the end. This is going to be good. This is going to be a very fascinating end to the race, I feel, as Harry down the inside of Baraka Cat. He's now back up into 5th. Don't count this guy out yet for a podium. He's got no penalties, just as has the drive-through penalty. Mr. Pop has, I believe, 9 seconds of penalties. This is going to be good. This going to be very good indeed. Make sure to carry on. Whatever you're doing, cancel all your plans for the next 20-25 minutes. You are not going to want to miss this race whatsoever. There we are then, on board with Harry at this moment in time. He's doing a pretty decent job then. At the moment, in 5th place, looking good for a podium, with both Racing Points having some penalties. Just as not coming into the pits yet. I think just wanting to ensure he builds a bit of a gap over Ivan and McCrew and then come into the pits. And while he's in the DRS, he might as well stay in, but stay out, I should say. He doesn't want to stay out too long, as obviously penalties, if they start coming in, he's really putting himself in trouble as he nearly actually goes into the back there. Nearly goes into the back of Daniel, and that would be controversial if the driver with a penalty ends up crashing with his championship rival. That would definitely stir the pot going into the final round of the season. Menno is in 7th place then. Ivan's got back ahead of the crew, so that is the Red Bull driver, the sole remaining Red Bull driver, up into 8th place after his teammate retired on lap 1. And Connor doing a good point at the lead of this race at the moment, at the halfway, just over halfway, 13 laps remaining then. He is 4.4 seconds ahead of Mr. Pop XL, who is nearly 10 seconds ahead of this battle for 3rd place, which isn't going to be a battle for long, because there comes the Racing Point. There comes Just As to serve his drive-through penalty. Just got the timing wrong with the Delta under the virtual safety car. And trying to gain the extra 10 for the second was costing 10 to 15 seconds. You can just see him plummeting down the order. He will come out in 7th place. He's going to need to drive the best 13 laps of his life if he wants to have any chance of winning the championship next race in Brazil. You can see he's actually going to be pretty close then with Ivan, who's just going to come out about 2 seconds behind him, and he's got the crew all over the back of him. And yeah, like we said, nothing will be easy. Just driving around on his own, but all he has to do is finish, and he's picking up another point, which I'm sure he'll feel a bit aggrieved. He'll feel like he had a chance to maybe even get his best result of the season, which currently, for nothing will be easy, was a 6th place in Singapore. I think he wasn't doing too bad, and with the incidents we've seen, who knows, he might well have had a chance to equal that, if not beat it. Could still do so if there's some late drama in this race. The only man not to have pitted then is the one on your screen now. The top 2 drivers have done 1 stop. Everyone else apart from Berwick has done 2. He's done none in the Alpha Tauri. He's going for the 1-stop strategy. He's going to come out in 9th place, I think, if he pitted this lap. He'll probably go on a bit longer maybe to sneak those soft tyres on. Has not worked out for him with the spin and the safety cars and different incidents. Just for whatever reason, it has not worked out. And 7 seconds is the gap back to Just As, who will be closing up at a ridiculous rate of knots. That is another fastest lap of the race for Daniel, quickly taken then by Harry. 1:36.6 for the pair of them. Daniel now just 12.7 seconds off the back of Connor. Needs to keep getting that gap down, because Connor will be coming in for a set of soft tyres, I guarantee it, at the end of this race, and will be extremely fast. Harry could be under pressure. He's currently in a net 2nd position, got to say he might be under pressure. What could be interesting, though, is if Menno can get ahead of Connor after the pit stop. That could really cost the Williams driver any chance of a victory. Still a lot of racing to go, though, between then and now. Still 11.5 laps left here. And still McCrew battling with Ivan Bakker. 8th and 9th place for two Dutch drivers. One in the Red Bull, one in the orange McLaren. So both obviously with their own links to Holland in these cars. You can see the DRS open, but not really close enough to do anything about the Red Bull ahead at this moment in time. And this will be the last game where we see the Aston Martin on the Red Bull car, of course, changing to the Racing Point team, being renamed Aston Martin. Be interested to see how they do with Sebastian Vettel and what colour scheme they go for. Will they maybe combine the pink with the neon green that they've got in the World Endurance Championship and give us all something that is going to be very noticeable, I think, to say the least, if we do get that colour scheme. As Mr. Pop into the pits then, off the medium tyres. He'll come out round about where his teammate is then in 6/7th position then. Soft tyres going on. The Racing Point driver has 9 seconds of penalties, has tidied it up all of a sudden. I think he is actually going to come out in the end comfortably ahead of his teammate, as just as their fastest lap of the race from him. 1:36.606, not much quicker than what we've seen from Daniel and Harry, but definitely quick enough. And what that does mean is if Connor pitted at the moment, he'd come out in a 3rd place on the soft tyres, about 6 seconds behind Daniel. With the pace he's shown, with the overtaking prowess he's shown, I'm not sure there'd be a lot Daniel could do about that. Mr. Pop has come out right behind Babacar, who has still not been into the pit. Surely he's thinking about it soon. And if he needed any reminder of why he should come into the pits, just look at how easy that pass was. Mr. Pop makes his way up into 5th place. Hasn't been the smoothest of race meetings for the Racing Point driver. Should still get an okay haul of points as he tries to stay in contact with Connor and Menno de Bever, both 3rd in the championship. Those penalties could just start to cost him, though. McCrew still on the back of Ivan then. Still on the back of Ivan. Still not able to get close enough. The first ever race we saw here, 2009, was a 1-2 for the Red Bull team. Sebastian Vettel taking the win, and Mark Webber defending for his life from the world champion that year, Jenson Button. And in a similar situation to this, Jenson was just not able to get close enough through the final corner. That's another penalty then for Mr. Pop. He's now up to 12 seconds. It doesn't matter if McCrew gets ahead of Ivan back, if he needs to pull away 3 seconds. But those 12 seconds of penalties are really going to cost Mr. Pop Excello. Drop behind Ivan, and if McCrew can just, and Ivan can catch up, you never know, he might drop behind the McLaren as well. Unlikely though, just because McCrew on the soft tyres and Knuckle Beezy now has 9 seconds of penalties. Here is Just As all over the back of Babacar, and this should be a fairly straightforward move if Babacar lets Just As by, which I don't think he'll have much choice going onto the next straight. Just As takes a later apex, can straighten up the car sooner, put the power down, open up the rear wing. This should be one of the more straightforward passes you see around the Yas Marina circuit. Just As is going to be to the inside. There's nothing the Alpha Tauri can do, so that puts him up into 6th place. If it wasn't for that drive-through penalty, what could have happened? Would he have had the pace to get ahead of Daniel and maybe take the victory in this race? Ifs and buts and all that. It's still been a good season, but after taking the first 3 race victories, having a 40-plus point lead at one point, I'm sure he'd have expected to at least be in a battle for the championship going into the final round. As McCrew does get past Ivan Bakker, then he is now up into 8th place. He's got a bit deep there. Not sure if there was any contact at all. Ivan does retake that 8th place, and I think there must have been some contact because Ivan does seem to have let McCrew by. So very sporting. I've got to say, fair play to the Red Bull driver. Very sporting indeed. There's a lot of drivers who would not have done that and just let it be sorted out after the race. So great to see. McCrew is then up into 8th place, as that is a penalty now for Just As. He is up to 3 seconds. He is pushing hard to try and catch up to his teammate. And that is the fastest lap of the race for his teammate, though, on those soft tyres, a 1:35.862. Got 9 laps to remain, and Connor still in the lead by 11 seconds. Has to come into the pits again, surely. Can't get those mediums to do 20 laps around here. He's currently 11 seconds ahead of Daniel 14 ahead of Harry, 19 ahead of Menno de Bever, so you would expect him to come out ahead of the McLaren. Needs to get a move on though. Coming out behind the McLaren could well be the difference between getting a victory here and just falling short. Mr. Pop is in 5th, just as 6th. Babakakap is currently in 7th place. You've still got this battle going on between Ivan and the crew. Now the Red Bull is the following car. Will beat him on penalties no matter what happens, as Nuffle gets a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits. What on earth has he done at that chicane to do that? It's not that it affects his position whatsoever, but not quite sure how he has managed to do that at this moment in time. Will Connor come into the pits now then? How much longer is he going to stretch those tyres out? Likewise with Babakakap, and here we go. He is into the pits then. Connor is in to the pits, nearly loses it on the way into the pit lane, so we know these two will get ahead of him. Will Menno, I think it's going to be pretty touch and go, but I think the Williams will just come out ahead of the McLaren driver. So Daniel takes the lead. Can he get that 4th victory of the season to secure his championship in style? Harry is up into 2nd position. It is going to be very close here between Connor and Menno de Bever, and I think the McLaren is just about going to come out ahead. Great job from him. He's in 3rd place. Connor is 4th. Mr. Pop in 5th with 15 seconds of penalties, so he's dropping a long way down the order, just as in 6th. Babakakap still going on those hard tyres. He has remembered that you do have to come into the pits. You have to pit in a dry race. He's got the crew right over the back of him, who's just able to outbrake him into turn 5. Great bravery on the brakes from the crew. That is not a move you'll be able to pull off in a normal racing situation. If Babakakap doesn't come into the pit soon, he's in danger of dropping behind Nuffle Beasley, which is not ideal whatsoever. If he pits now, should still just about come out ahead. Menno's grasp on 3rd place is going to be very short-lived here. Connor with the extra grip, with the DRS, and now with track position. He gets up into 3rd place. All sorts of chaos going on here. Ivan getting past 2 cars in one. Now it's a straight drag race between the McLaren and the Red Bull. No ERS though for the McLaren driver, and he's not able to make that move. So he's now, well, stays in 8th place after all that. And the crew is still in 8th, and Ivan and Babakakap have swapped around. So the Red Bull up to 7th, and the Alpha Tauri down into 9th place. And the pace Connor is showing at the moment, he's just going to catch up onto the back of Harry and Daniel. There's nothing stopping him at the moment. Let's not forget, he dropped down to last position on lap 1. It was a dominant qualifying performance from the Williams driver. He was last coming out of turn 4. Had a bad start, bit of a tap from Menno, came back onto track, nearly lost it again. That is why he dropped all the way down the order. Got himself back up into the top 10. Oh, there's been a yellow flag. And that is Babakakap out as he crashed on his way to the pit lane. Virtual safety car. I'm sure Daniel, Harry and a few others would have been hoping for a full safety car, but it is a virtual safety car then, with 6.5 laps remaining here in Abu Dhabi, just to temper the progress ever so slightly of the Williams. 9 runners and another non-score for Babakakap. This is why I said he should have come in earlier. Just lost grip on those tyres and becomes our 5th retirement, and a drive-through penalty for Nuffle Beasley for speeding under the safety car. No one else had any drive-through penalties then. We are back racing once more. Here is Mr. Pop all over the back of Menno at the moment. It's been a pretty good race on track-wise for Mr. Pop XL. Should finish in 4th place. Those penalties, though, are going to have a huge effect and drop him a long, long way down the order. He will drop at least behind Menno, behind Justas, possibly behind Ivan Bakker as well, depending on if he gets any more penalties and how the soft tyres hold up for the rest of this race. This is the view back from Menno de Bever then, as Daniel rounds the final corner, starts lap 23. 6 laps separating Daniel from winning this INL Division 1 crown. Something that didn't look too likely after the first 2 races, but you've got to say the consistency he has shown since then. He has more than deserved this title, as would have Justas, to be fair, with his pace, but he has shown some fantastic performances at the moment. So here we go then. You can still see Mr. Pop still behind at the moment. The crew coming into the pits. I'm not sure whether that's for a set of soft tyres because he felt like he had nothing to lose. maybe just going for that fastest last point. Here's the back of Harry. You'll see a Williams has quickly disappeared from the back into the front of him. Connor now up into second place. Mr. Pop up into fourth. Those on the softs have got so much grip. I think Connor is going to catch Daniel. Could we see Mr. Pop maybe even catch Harry at the moment? In fact, you can barely see his helmet in that car from that camera angle. Almost looked as if it was being driven by no one at this moment in time. You can just see vaguely the eyes of Mr. Pop as he's now up into fourth place. Menno is fifth, just as sixth. Ivan back at seventh. McCrew in eighth, and Knuckle Beasy just finished serving that drive-through penalty. He is the ninth and final runner. And with 5 laps to go, is Daniel going to have anything left to stop Connor getting ahead of him and taking a third win this season, which would tie with Just As and Daniel? Again, a fantastic achievement considering he missed the first 4 races of the season. Showed great form in Hungary. Japan, he took a win. I don't think anyone expected it on those hard tyres after the safety car. 134.974, a full second almost faster than anyone else has done. This is a done deal. Connor is taking the victory in this race. The only thing that's stopping him now is himself getting a penalty. But he's too far behind, obviously, to have an effect on the championship. I think he can still, mathematically, could have still got second place coming into this race, even with Just As finishing down at the moment in 6th place and probably going up to 5th on penalties. Means Connor will only be able to finish 3rd at best, but this will go a long way to securing that 3rd place, which after a part season, again, an absolutely fantastic achievement. And he'll go into the final race knowing that if he takes the victory in Brazil, he'll have won 4 races. If he takes the win here, and that is more than any other driver has done this season. Not the same as getting a championship, but definitely just shows the pace Connor has had since joining this league. 2.5 seconds then, the gap is coming down all the time. It's been a good race at the moment from Harry. He's in 3rd place, he's kept it clean, so even if Mr. Pop does catch him up, should still easily finish in 3rd place and get his first podium of the year, and I believe the first podium for a Mercedes driver as well. I can't quite remember. Oh, sorry, we did have DeWill, I apologise, getting a podium at Silverstone, but this would be the first podium for a Mercedes driver, full time at least, since then. Surprising to see the Silver Arrows so far down the order in the championship, mainly due to different drivers being absent. They are currently only 8th place in the championship. This would add a huge chunk of points onto theirs if they can manage to get that extra 15 points from Harry. It would move them up from 33 to 48, but would not move them up any further in the Constructors' Championship. They would still be 6 points behind the AlphaTauri team, who are currently in 7th place. As Connor now nearly within DRS range, still with 3 and a bit laps to go. I thought he was going to catch Daniel up. I admit that. I did not think he was going to catch Daniel up with 3 laps remaining still. This has been a supremely dominant run. Imagine if he hadn't have spun at the start of the race. He'd probably be well clear now. He decided to stay out after the VSC, which you've got to say has proven to be by far the best strategy. And with the pace he's shown on these soft tyres as well, I'm not even sure if Daniel and Harry had decided to not stop under the VSC, they'd have been able to do anything about it, because Mr. Pop on the soft tyres as well isn't really catching up. Oh, Knuckle Beasy's out. Virtual safety car. Another driver to get it wrong at the final corner. We've seen that twice in the race and once in qualifying. So all of a sudden, we're down to just 8 runners here. Daniel gets a very small reprieve. I'm sure again he was hoping for a full safety car. So a very small reprieve then from Daniel. And this is what I mean. The only thing that could stop Connor is if he somehow manages to pick up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC, which you'd imagine he just needs to be a bit conservative at the moment. 3 laps remaining then. Daniel leads from Connor, from Harry, from Mr. Pop, from Menno. There we go, DRS is enabled once again. We are back racing. Menno looks as though he's going to finish in 4th place, beating Mr. Pop on penalties, who will drop behind his teammate. And again, only 8 runners left in this race. I think, if I recall correctly, we only had, 9 runners last time out. No, we did have a full amount of runners last time out in the Russian Grand Prix, with a few drivers retiring towards the end. So many retirements here. Hopefully we'll be able to have a full grid, and hopefully we'll have a few more drivers making it towards the end. It's been another race of attrition here. Not that Connor cares. He thinks about going for the inside then into 8. We've got another yellow flag, and that is McCrew, I think, who has made a mistake. Thankfully for him, he is able to continue. DRS open then. Can Daniel hold off just for another 2 and a bit laps? So is there nothing he can do to stop Connor with the grip on those soft tyres? He's still ahead for now. Should still be ahead going on to the penultimate lap, but it looks definitely like when, not if, the Williams takes the lead of this race, and with it takes his 3rd victory of the season. Thinks about getting down the inside there. You can just see how much more grip he's got as it came through 15, 16, 17. Now coming around turn 19, Daniel sliding a bit more on the rear, pushing as hard as possible. He wants to win this championship with a victory, of course. It is what all drivers want to do. So Daniel leads. Connor stays in 2nd place for now. Harry is 3rd. Mr. Pop 4th. Menno doing a fairly good job of keeping up with Mr. Pop to save the tyre difference. I think those softs maybe just starting to wear, and maybe that might just save Daniel. They're 4th and 5th, just as his 6th. The drive-through penalty ruining any chances, because he'd have been up there with this lead battle, of course. Ivan was 7th, and McCrew in 8th place. But here we go. Connor gets the power down, gets a much better exit than Daniel. This is going to be the move for the lead of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix there. Goes to the inside line, takes the position. He'll be able to move back to the racing line ahead before the braking zone. That is the pole sitter back into the lead of this race. It looks like being another pole to victory for Connor, and once again it's been anything other than the straightforward route of doing it for him. Although Daniel in the DRS, can he go all the way around the outside here at turn 11 on the brakes, late as he dares? Going to be side by side. Please don't make any contact on the final lap. Is he going to be able to throw one down the inside here perhaps? No, not able to do so. Now can Daniel just hang on to the back of Connor through this final sector? He could still have a chance of taking the victory here. With every passing lap, the advantage of the softs just recedes ever so slightly. It's going to be hard for Daniel. As you can see, he's already dropped around half a second back. But he wants this win. He wants to take the championship with a victory. He wants to show that even though Connor hasn't done the full season, that's not an excuse, and that Daniel would have won the championship anyway. Final lap then, Connor leading, Daniel in 2nd. Menno is really catching up to Mr. Pop XL. I think 8 laps for those soft tyres is when you might start to see them, well 9 laps sorry, is when you start to see them cut, because Menno is really starting to catch up all of a sudden. Daniel not close enough to be in the DRS, so that should settle it in Connor's favour. Connor then should have a fairly straightforward run to the victory, as long as he doesn't get any silly penalties on this final lap. Is Menno going to be close enough to have a go at Mr. Pop? If he makes a mistake, he's got just as not too far behind, ready to take 5th place on track, but the penalties will drop him down anyway. DRS open on the McLaren car. He's going to close in, but I think his best opportunity is going to be into the next straight. They're both low on the RS, so it's not like Mr. Pop's going to have anything to defend with on this final straight. So this could be very interesting indeed. If Menno gets the exit right, he could well have a chance. It's been a good exit though from the Racing Point driver, and I think that could well be that. You can see how much he's closing in though. All of a sudden here, he's going to go for it all the way round the outside on the final lap of the race. Who's going to come out ahead? They're still side by side. Menno's picked up a penalty. All of a sudden, can he go around the outside once more? Gives him the inside for the next corner. He takes that 4th position out on track. Back for the lead of this race as Mr. Pop there has actually dropped behind his teammate. It's a 2nd victory in a row for Connor. He takes the checkered flag, but it is the championship for Daniel. He is the INL Season 2 Division 1 champion. Harry with a great performance to get his first podium of the season in 3rd. Menno just crosses the line in 4th ahead of Justas, who that drive-through penalty really cost him any chances. Mr. Pop drops down into 6th place. How many penalties does Ivan have? He's going to take 6th place here on the line from Mr. Pop, who is 7th, and the crew then just cruising around towards the end. Will pick up the points. He's trying to go for the fastest lap of the race here, so let's get the lap data up and see how he's doing. 6 tenths up on his personal best is not going to be enough. So McCrew will get 8th position as long as he doesn't crash. It'll be another 4 points, 100% record of scoring then in the 3 races he's done so far this season, getting to the end where so many others faltered. JF Rocher looked very good until he had that spin and then the accident. Menno, who did finish, had a spin as well. He could have maybe challenged for a podium. Bullet Boy getting involved in an incident early on. Kazai having a big crash. Shapalele damage on lap 1. Connor had a spin on lap 1. It didn't matter in the end. He took the victory, a 3rd win of the season, to consolidate his position for 3rd in the championship. But the man of the moment has to be our Season 2 champion. It is Daniel. And there's the dance moves then from Connor. Fantastic day for him. He takes that victory. Daniel, 2nd place, not the win he'd have wanted to win the championship, but he'll be delighted with how that went. And the 1st podium of the season for Harry. Get the rest of the results then from the penultimate round of the season. In 4th position then was Menno Di Bevere. A good comeback after that spin early on, just as where could he have been without the drive-through penalty. Finished in 5th. Ironbacker 6th. Mr. Pop, too many penalties. In the end, what looked like possibly even being a top 4 finish ended with 7th. McCrew did get the fastest lap in the end on the final lap with 8th position. And Nufflebeezy, Baraka Cap, JF Rocher, Kazai, Bullet Boy and Shapalele all retiring from the race. Another big race of attrition there. And I am just going to see very quickly if we can get an interview with the champion. We're going to see if we can maybe get the winner of the championship into the party to see what he thinks about the season that he has had. It's been an absolutely fantastic season indeed from Daniel. Well deserved championship. Consistency like no other. So we will see if we can actually maybe get him into the party and get an idea on what he does. So we are going to get then, we are going to try and get him in. To him, if he hadn't have had that penalty, who knows? If he hadn't have had that penalty, maybe he'd have been able to stay in the lead of the championship. It might have been a lot harder for Connor to get ahead as well. But your winner then of the race was Connor, taking his 3rd win of the season. The championship winner was Daniel. Bit of a crazy race, another race of attrition here then. Plenty of retirements, only 8 drivers seeing the checkered flag by the end of the race. Only 8 drivers seeing the end. JF Rocher, very strange crash at turn 14. It'd be interesting to see his opinion about that, because that could have easily ended very badly for him. Just waiting to see if Daniel... We'll leave it a few more minutes to see if Daniel joins the party. I mean, what did you guys think about that race win? It was not what we were... not what we were expecting to happen after the first lap, when Connor made when Connor had all those big mistakes in the on lap 1. Bad start again, maybe a bit of a tap from the McLaren, we're not quite sure. Maybe a bit of a tap from one of the racing points as well, as he tried to came back on track, but he fought really hard and did of course manage to take that victory, as it's not looking good maybe for an interview at the moment. We're still waiting on we did ask him in the Discord if he wanted an interview, and to be fair, he didn't say no. He didn't say yes either, but he didn't say no. And if there is if any of you guys are still watching, if there's any questions you'd like to ask our champion, if he does appear, make sure to put them in the chat now. Make sure to put your opinions of that race as well. An absolutely brilliant race to commentate on. Plenty of action through the field. again, Abu Dhabi DRS proving to be perhaps maybe a bit too effective. If he's nervous, do you think we should leave it then? We'll leave it. We'll leave the interview then. I think Daniel feeling a bit nervous, perhaps feeling a bit happy after taking that championship win, and who can really blame him? A fantastic performance all season from Daniel, getting that victory as McCrew is telling him to come. So he's coming. We are going to get then an exclusive interview with our current, well, yeah, our reigning champion. Now you could say. Didn't quite get the race victory today, but again, a absolutely superb performance, and he's taken the championship pretty much ever since Justas had a few of them problems. Of course, missing, even without missing the last race, you've got to say Daniel would have had a very healthy lead in the championship. Probably we're talking 18, 19 points going into the final race, even if Justas hadn't missed the last race. You've got to say the comeback after missing after the first few races where Justas won 3 in a row. It has been a fascinating comeback from Daniel, and here he is, champion of the season, champion of Division 1. How does that feel? Yeah, you've shown great consistency through the season, because at the start of the season it looked as though Justas was going to run away with things. He had 3 wins in a row. He got a podium in Singapore, but since then you just seem to have had the upper hand. Yeah, are you alright to go into your settings and see if you've got it so you can share your microphone on the broadcast? Because I'm getting a message from everyone basically that they can't hear you. So I think it's in the party settings. It's just allow your voice to be shared, I think. Okay, well, so you said like you made your own setups. Do you think that was the key to maybe helping you get the championship in the end?
Yeah, that really was one of the keys.
And talking about today's race then, a good start from yourself, got up into second place, got him into first after the safety car. It's just Connor's decision to stay out. Do you think you'd have been able to, if he'd have pitted at the same time as you, do you think that would have helped you, or do you just think he had too much pace today?
It was just too fast for me. He has incredible pace all over the season, and yeah, it was just that he didn't join this league at the beginning of the season. Otherwise, it would be really hard in the championship to win from him.
Yeah, so now that the championship's decided, you can just relax in Brazil, and like, I mean, you've had a good race today. You've been fantastically consistent all season, but you can just relax and maybe enjoy it a bit more.
Yeah, I'm in the qualifying in Brazil. I'm going to make some donuts, so that will be real fun.
Are we going to maybe see a last to first challenge?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, McCrew wants your autograph, so if you fancy making some money, you can now sell your autographs. But yeah, congratulations on the season. Great job to yourself. I think a great job as well to Racing Point, who I believe have actually secured the Constructors' Championship as well today, if my maths is correct. So
congratulations to them. They did a really good job.
Yeah, they did do a really good job. It's been a great race. Thank you for joining me, and that is pretty much it then for this stream. If you want to see the Division 2 action, that took place at the same time, so that will be live on YouTube now. And make sure to check us both out next week for the final round of the season, round 19 out of 19 at Interlagos. But for myself and Daniel, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.